Welcome to the Backyard Professor Chess videos! I suppose you're wondering what I'm so blithering excited about. I'll tell you what I'm so excited about, because I get to make another video for you guys. I found a good game. Where's my book? Oh, hang on. Just a moment. I've got to get this book. This is a good little book that I bought at the bookstore the other day. And I got it at the 5 and dime store for $1. Yeah, Edward Lasker's Modern Chess Strategy. Not Emanuel Lasker, the world champion. Edward Lasker, although that was his era also. He was in there with Alekin and Nimzovich, and this game I'm going to show you is with Richard Reti and Jose Capablanca. They were the famous ones, of course. Ed Lasker is one of the unsung great chess masters. This game he's playing white against Richard Reti, and Reti was one of the hypermoderns along with Nimzovich, who was rebelling against Tarash's strict chess rules, and they were called the hypermodern school. And they had a great influence on chess in between the world wars from 1915 to 1945 or whatever the era was. But this particular game is a fun game, and I want to illustrate just a couple of things with it, kind of what I'm talking about, tie in all together, all these themes. Lasker really played a fabulous game here. The opening is the Ruy Lopez, which is a typical standard opening at this point. And they do pretty good through it. Lasker castles early, of course, you always do. Reti is getting ready to castle early. And this was a standard response in the Ruy Lopez too. Rook to the E and grab that central file once these pawns get exchanged off. Because the battle is in the center, these pawns will eventually either be changed off by pawns or they'll be targets for the pieces, and then he'll have himself an open file. Unless, of course, Reti contests the open file. We'll see, right? Reti's going to come on the queen side, which is typical standard in the Ruy Lopez, bumping the bishop all the way down. And now he gives support to his center pawn. Typical, simple stuff. C3, pushing the square, so that when the knight comes over, the bishop can still drop down, because he wants to retain his white squared bishop in the Ruy Lopez, more or less. Yeah? Now Reti castles. And Lasker goes to here, and now sure enough, knight a5, which is a standard attack, and he drops the bishop down. And now he's pushing the queen side. So he is lusting to expand with his pawns, as Aaron Nimzovich used to say. The pawns lust to expand, give you more space on the queen side. This could get real dangerous if Lasker doesn't pay attention here, yeah? So notice this. Reti has pushed several queenside pawns. He's gaining enormous space, and these can mow you over and really wreck your queenside if you're not very careful. You don't have to respond every time, but you got to at least keep your eye open. But watch how Lasker responds to the wing play of Reti. Center. He pushes the d4 pawn in the center. That is always the proper way to respond to your opponent when he is expanding on either wing. It doesn't matter, queen side, king side, whatever. Your best defense is an offense right into the center. Whether with pawns or pieces, it doesn't matter. You attack the center when you see wing side play coming on. That is, so far as I'm aware, that's still valid today. You know, I am so enamored with the Alicans and the Capablancas and the Laskers, both Emmanuel, the world champion, and this guy, Edward Lasker, and Capablanca, and Richard Reti, and Akiba Rubinstein, and all those guys that I haven't really gotten up to speed on absolutely right now today's, although I do have Yusupov's chess course and I am working my way through it. His first entire book is more or less just basic general principles with a lot of delicious detail. I've already given you a lot of those principles, and I will continue sharing as I learn them with you also. See? So, classic response. And now Queen C7. Again, emphasizing on the queen side. Yeah, that's his emphasis in this game on the relais for Reti at this game. And now he brings his knight to here, watching, keeping an eye on this. See, his pawns, yes, there's tension, but his pawns are already past this point. And so he's just keeping track of things. He's not necessarily counterattacking or attacking or trying to block yet. He's just making sure he can respond meaningfully, right? You can't just ignore this kind of advance. Good chess. And Reti comes to here now. Everything's coming this way. There's your hint. Everything is coming this way. There's your hint. Target consciousness is what I've been emphasizing the last 3 or 4 videos. Let's keep our eyes peeled for something here. Boom! Target conscious thinking. What this does, locks the center. It hits the hole. That's the weak square, and that's the target. Later on, Reti is going to have to address this. And when he does, when this pawn disappears and this pawn disappears, what's the target? The backward weak pawn. Yeah? Target consciousness. All the Grandmasters are doing this. No, they didn't call it that. But we want to see it as that because it's kind of a cute little jingle that opens our eyes to that theme, right? Okay, so he locked the center. Reti is still coming on strong, expanding. A lot of pawn moves in this game. I understand that. And actually, if I understand this right, with what very little I understand, today's chess grandmasters don't necessarily argue against multiple pawn moves in the openings. And of course you have to judge the board itself to see if you're going to get in trouble or if that's valuable to do. But it's not taboo. I mean, every chess rule is made to be broken, depending on how you're playing, right? That's the maddening part about chess. The glorious thing is it's literally infinite, man. No 2 chess games are ever the same. That's what keeps us coming back to chess. Well, target conscious. He says, oh, you're going to attack? Yeah, I'll take that. I don't mind doing that. That's a good exchange for me, he thinks. Now observe one more time. Whoops. Sorry, girl. This knight has traveled all the way over to here. So there's no question now, where will you play as white? Please don't tell me the queen side, or you're missing the whole point. Hey, most people just don't even know what to do at this point. So feel grateful you've got chess videos to watch, really, truly. There's a lot of people who just say, well, you know what, I guess I can put the rook there. I'm not joking. There are people who do not know what to do in this situation And that is why I emphasize the idea of reading the board. Every one of black's pieces except that rook and maybe that bishop. Well, that bishop can come here to guard the king. All of his oomph is over here. That means he's alone. Him. Take a bow, sir. Yes, him. Yo, hey, look at that boy. Look, he's only got 2 here. Just 2. Count them. Uno, dos. Ein, zwei. 1, 2. Not 3. Gosh. What could you do with that kind of a board position? You got to keep your eye on this, but you don't have to stay there. No. Well, knight e4. What does this do? Why, of all moves, is this better than that? And that is not a good move. Don't you ever do that. You read the board and ask yourself, why is this a great move? Targets, central, and targets. Now, targets, just keep your eye open. Targets. This is critical. This pawn thrust, he gets taken by the bishop. Now, black is playing target conscious. Target, yeah. That pawn bumping, that could have been something else. He could have already started getting in, cracking that king side. So Reti puts a stop to the pawn thrust. He says, nope, not now. Based on the background I just told you, everything on black is over here. Everything is over here. Don't miss stuff like that. That's why this makes such fabulous sense. You understand, well, he's making a lot of knight moves. Good argument, and yes, he is. True. He really is making a lot of knight moves. Why do you suppose that is? Yeah. Well, queen says, well, maybe I can scoot over here just a little bit and at least make sure that I've got a double protection on the bishop. He is out there quite a way, and this bishop is hitting him. And by the way, his knights are kind of getting close to over here. And gosh, his queen's coming over here. Oh, hey, his bishop's pointing over here. And oh, hey, golly gee whiz, his other bishop's pointing over here too. Just keep your eye peeled for targets, meaning diagonals, meaning files, meaning knight points. Keep your eyes open for stuff like that. Don't just look, see. Right? Okay, so anyway. Well, Queen D7. What the? Targets. You go, now, timeout. What? Really? He is completely blowing his kingside cover to attack? Once again, if I may point this out, all of it's over here. Well, not now, but the majority is over here. He's not even emphasizing attacking this chump. He's coming here. He better start hurrying if he's going to do... Now, understand something. Richard Reti, I mean, he even has an opening named after him, the Reti opening. He was part of the hypermodern school. This is not a chumply. This is a Grandmaster chess player. He was very good. And look, interesting things are happening. So, because he hit the bishop does exchange the bishop. Too much. That was a good exchange on Reti's part. The queen will take the bishop. Okay? And now Reti pushes the G pawn. Again, lots of pawn pushes. Now, you want to engage as many pieces as possible, but the power thrust at this point is central blockade with improving your position. Keep your eye on the targets. Yeah? So that move makes sense. It doesn't just look good to centralize the queen. It stops him from having targets. He wants those pawns right there for now. In the meantime, he's got terrific influence here. Man, that knight can undermine this so fast. This knight can come right here and keep going with the queen right here. Oh my. Notice he has nothing going here just yet. So Lasker appears to me to have the initiative here. Yeah? Bishop now takes G5. You understand why, yes? Knight has a target which he hits. Yes. White has gotten rid of a defender over here. The black knights are so far out of play right now that he is open field. Yeah? Lots of targets to look at. Queen bumps to B7. This is the main culprit against black. This just stops all kinds of cooperation among the pieces. He's got to do something about that. It's time to address that problem. In the meantime, targets with position improvement keeps occurring for white. Once again, hit the center. Advance, gain space, hit your targets. Yeah? Queen hits the target. It's time to change down queens, which wouldn't be a bad strategy for the simple reason that the kingside motion of white seems to have better momentum than the queenside motion for black. Have you noticed that? You don't see a lot of movement, engagement, not even counterattacking on the queen side of black. All of it's over here in the center and over here. White has the initiative. He is propelling his plan toward black better than black is. That's what we're seeing. Rather than instantly responding, because the queens are going to go. There's no question about that. However, there's an intermediate move. He put the pawn up here, now hit the target. The target is both of those pawns. Now this pawn will fall. And when this pawn falls, black's position collapses, because it's the backward weak pawn. That has been the weakness in this entire game in black's camp. Yep. Rook A to E8. Hey. Hit the pawn, pin the pawn to the queen. That's not bad. That's not bad. It is true black has the open file. He hasn't made much use of it yet. Yeah, it's keeping the king over there, but the king's not trying to get over here. So in a way, that's a moot point at this point. So queen says, okay, let's swap. Check. I'll hit you with check. And the knight takes the queen. No more check. And now the targets are bypassed for an incredible pass pawn. Nice. Now if black's not careful, he is going to be on ugly defense the rest of the game. So now the strategy becomes, like a heat-seeking missile, you absolutely must either stop him or take him, even if it costs you material. That's the power of a passed pawn, man. A central pass with the rook backing it. Oh, that's perfect. Just right. You got a knight here helping put him in. That's really sweet. No joke. That is a... Ooh. So, Reti is up for it. He says, hey, I've got a rook on an open file, and I can use the partial open file. I've got a piece that'll hit your pawn. You're not getting a queen on me, man. So that's good. Targets. You got to hit the targets. This is what it's all about. Rook d1. Why would you take it off of the pawn? Because of targets. The passed pawn has helped you acquire an important target. This is so cool to look how he did this. Lasker really did a great job here. This is spectacular. Not the knight. That wasn't the target. The target was the d6 pawn. The backward pawn. The weakness. You see the weakness, you target it, you hit it, and now black falls apart. That is just so wild how that works, but it works. That's why we want to train our eyes for targets, which are weaknesses, whether squares or backward pawns, or a piece that is not supported by any other piece, or another piece that's not supported by any other piece, or another piece that's not supported by any other piece, or another piece, although the knight is protecting that. But look at this backward pawn. This pawn isn't supported by anybody except that knight. So there's targets everywhere once the weakness is attacked and eliminated. That is one of the most fascinating things in all of chess I see over and over and over again in the games. So there's a lesson here for us to help us improve our chess. Now, okay, targets, hit the knight. No, that was wrong. That was all wrong. That was the wrong move. He even has a question mark on it. Knight to e4, targets. Targets. Hit the rook. Absolutely. Well, the problem is he takes the pawn, dang it. I wanted that pawn. No, watch what happens. The pawn was it was okay. It was okay. You don't have to respond right now. You have check. What a beautiful fork on the king and the rook. Targets, improving your attacking position, and targets. That's nice. That's really, really nice. And you say that's stupid. All he does is take, you notice he got the knight because white was seeking targets, and he got the rook. So black lost that exchange. Yeah. Uh-oh. That sucks when that happens. It really does, too. Well, black says, okay, targets. Targets, that's true. King g7. Rook to d6. For the moment, rook bumps up to give support to the 7th rank because the imbalance in the endgame is a rook and 2 knights and 2 rooks and a bishop, and there are pawns on both sides of the board, so the bishop is going to be better than either one of those knights or even both of them combined, for the reason that he has both rooks. He's got the rook pair. Now we can see the value of being target conscious all the way up into the endgame. Yeah, because Lasker has been winning the exchanges in the piece count. This is critical. Push the pawn, b3. He comes to c4. Now he gets things going, but only to activate the bishop on a beautiful diagonal. Now he's got all his pieces into it. Yeah? Notice where the knight is of black. Notice how long it's been since the knight has moved. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 moves. It's the end game and his knight's on the edge of the board and he can't get it off it. That's very interesting to observe, I promise. C takes B. A takes B, of course. Knight takes B. Finally, he gets to do something. Rook simply goes to B1. Targets. Targets. Knight comes to A5. Targets. Targets. He eliminated the majority of pawns on this side. These pawns are even. However, the rooks and bishop against the rook and knights, black hasn't got a prayer. This game is over. Knight takes the rook, and you say, wait a minute, you just showed me that the rook took the pawn as a target, and then he gave the rook for a pawn? Heavens yes, because he's target conscious, he gets to take the last rook. Boom. Rook and bishop versus knight and knight. And it is here that black resigned, because he can't win. Not when you have a rook and a bishop and pawns on both sides like that. The end game is white's. So, rooks on open files. The really important concept of centralization. In this particular game we saw central blockading occurring, and as ever now, because I've recently, somehow it just clicked in my head about the critical importance of target consciousness and improving your position, through putting those two together, white was able to better his position, but he also got the best of a few exchanges along the way. He ended up with a rook and a really great bishop, whereas black only ended up with 2 knights. Lots to digest in a wonderful Grandmaster game like this, so play over this several times. You'll want to pay attention to this one. This is a good one. And I have several more that I want to show you, which ties in so many of our themes that we're trying to put into our games. And when we see time and again how the Grandmasters manipulate the board situation and read the position and do their moves, we can also practice that. So there's your video. Thanks. Do good, be well, have fun, stay happy, be calm, be mellow, meditate every now and then, throw anger away, and forgive everybody, because you know, forgiveness is not for them. Easy to talk about, yeah, but it's not for them. It's for you. Seriously, that's what all the gurus say. Truly. It's for you, so learn how to do it and mean it. In the meantime, remember, there's more videos coming down the pike, and I will see you in those later videos.